everybody. Welcome to the New Earth Co-Creators. This is our podcast. We're here every week. And again, sadly, we are without the beautiful Isabel Hunt. She is not well. So we send her much healing, love, and light. But that said, I am with the ever so handsome and amazing UK Spider-Man, Peter Paul Parker. Hi, Peter. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. Very good. We had a bit of sun the other day. So I was out in the garden doing my stuff and
Yeah, you have a
planting.
little healthy color, a
Yeah,
little healthy glow.
I got a little bit of Spanish blood in me, so the sun kind of reacts well with my DNA. So, but also it's getting the plants out there, getting ready to eat, covering them up, because goodness knows what's coming down from the skies these days. Yeah, and it's growing food and getting some beautiful plants in there. And we are going to be talking about manifestation, but what we've done in our garden is created a beautiful place for us to just hang out, and that's important. So yeah,
that is
yeah.
so important. And of course, I'm Deb Bishop, Rev Deb, Deborah Bishop, whatever. Call me Deb, call me Deborah, just don't call me Debbie. Anyway, yes, we were discussing our topic today, and it came down to manifestation, which is a very trendy, very hot topic. It runs kind of hot and cold. There's periods of time where it's like really in the flow, and then other periods of time where other things are happening. But it seems to be one of those that sticks to the New Age movement. It sticks to sort of the teachings of what are you manifesting in your life. And so today I really wanted to talk about like what are the actual limitations connected to manifesting. Right, which is an interesting way to look at manifesting, because on the one hand, can manifest anything. We really are capable of that. But on the other hand, we live in a time, we are human, and we live in a time when, there's so much going on, there's so much required that we take care of every day. Some of it not really necessary, but feels like it might be. So I do think that even though it is possible as sentient, spiritual, powerful beings that you are really here to co-create, manifestation is unlimited. I also believe that if we really were going to practice that, we have to be very separate from so much of what's happening in the world. So how do we, what is the limitation? So I'll leave it there, and I'll throw it to you, Peter, to definitely talk. And my kitty has decided to jump on the.
Hello, kitty. Lovely kitty. It's an interesting subject, because if you think about the physical body is riddled with limitations, but the spiritual body isn't. So we've got this dichotomy happening with us anyway. So this is something that we all really need to break down and work out what it is. I think that's so important, and because we've got this yearning to be free, to be open, to be expanded and coming out, but also we have this realization of the physical body and the limitations of that physical body. Where I find mainly, I think the limit to manifestation at the moment is that human beings have been driven into the physical body. They've been told this is it. This is you. You're just a biological entity, and we're going to start making you better as a biological entity because of transhumanism and all this other stuff of adding things to you. Which I think some of it is important, because someone who's lost a limb and they get an arm that can actually work almost as well as their old arm. I think that's really important stuff. But to actually start to put that into your body so that you become a superhuman, I believe that we are superhumans anyway. And what we've done is put blinkers over ourselves to not see what we can actually do. If you watch the short documentary called Superhuman, there's a little series that I watched. And this woman who had real issues with her eyes, she couldn't really see properly. She did this very short teachings, and she started to see through her consciousness to menus, see colors in front of her, and she can't see, but she learned to read a menu through her consciousness. So to me, that is mind-blowing, because that makes me realize it's not just our eyes that we see with, it's actually with our consciousness as well. So we're limited, or limiting ourselves just on that one fact, to be able to see a bit deeper into this reality that we see. And there's other people who can see colors and auras and things like that. I've seen chakras, and I went to a meeting with Longi Vitology. It's a Taiwanese, very hot topic place at the moment, but it's a Taiwanese healing modality. And I remember seeing the guy's aura, just as he was doing his meditation, his aura just kind of expanded out into the room, and I was going, wow. And I've never been in that state before. They did that through 2 days of people really co-creating an energy, and a lot of them were hands-on energy healers as well around the room. So to me, that created that vision for me. So I know you love to talk about energy as well. So
yeah, I was agreeing and wagging a finger. I don't mean to wag it, but it's agreeing, it's like, yes.
Let me think.
Well, and the thing that you said too, that was, I just didn't want to lose it, was that it was a community of people that got together and focused and created.
Yes.
So this is like so important to everything we talk about, because at the end of the day, this is about really having community through Conscious Music, the Conscious Music Collective, through the New Earth co-creators. Oh, my kitty. Community, four-legged ones too. She's just decided right now is time to get a lot of love. So it is what it is. But it's so important to recognize that part of our limitation comes from this idea that we isolate our manifestation. We don't, we put ourselves like, oh, it's not about going into the mountain now and being the hermits that ones have heard about in history, where they've gone to the mountaintop and they've lived in a cave and they've learned all this mastery and they've manifested at this level. Well, that's not where we're at, but yet we behave as individuals. Like our bedrooms are our caves, our car is our caves, our screens are now our caves, even though they don't feel like they are isolated. They are very, very isolating, because we feel like we're connecting to the outside world, but we're really not. We're connecting to images that have been generated from the outside world that are there specifically to put something into our minds, not help us to create from our heart and our mind eye out. So here's all these limitations, right? Number one, we isolate. How often do we feel that, or do we even put ourselves into a community where we feel like we can talk about what we truly would like to see, what we would truly desire? I've had a career of working with people, and when I say, what do you really want? They go, and yes. The first thing they talk about is, well, they talk about how, well, they don't want to be greedy, and they don't want to make it all about them. And, that maybe these things they want because they want to give them all away, and it's like this whole disconnection of like, oh, they're not entitled. They're not allowed. They can't have it. And I just use that hot word, entitled. I know that can trigger a lot of people, but we are entitled to good things. It's just what we use. It's like greed. It's like, there's nothing wrong with money, but greed is a problem, right? It's really understanding the differences and how these things are and what they mean. And so, okay, if we don't know what we want and we're afraid to even share that because we feel we'll be judged, then right there, to me, is a massive limitation on what we can manifest.
Definitely. I think you're so smack on the money there. And what happened with me when I was born and growing up was we lived in an abundant house. We were so lucky to have such a flamboyant father. He was an entrepreneur extraordinaire. And yet there wasn't really any entrepreneurs at that time really around in the Kingston area. So we had everything, and we had all the children from all the local neighborhoods coming into our house, playing in the swimming pool, playing ball, playing badminton in the back garden, things like that. And I'll tell you what made me most happiest, and wasn't actually going out and playing the games. It was actually going up to one of the upper bedrooms and looking down and looking at all the children in harmony with each other, having fun. Because that's what I was doing anyway. And that, to me, I thought, why can't we be doing this all the time? And then, because I was kept on getting yanked off to school and said, right, you all sit there separately in silence and nobody talking or communicating with each other. And this is it. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going, whoa, who are you coming into my life doing this to me? Straight away, I felt like that. And it was like that separation from that fun. And people said, well, that's weird that you've got such a feeling of this for other people. To watching them having fun makes you feel good. And I feel that what's weird about me, I think, is I expect us to be connected on a deeper level. I expect people, when I know something, I expect other people to know that. And I think that's an incarnation from somewhere else, personally, of where I've been somewhere else, as in, you've got to be careful what you think about, because somebody else is going to pick up on that vibration straight away. Whereas human beings, we are far more pulled apart than that. So that to me comes in with trust. We talked about trust earlier, and being able to trust your fellow human being. Whereas when people were coming into the house, they felt that the family was trustworthy. They could behave as they wanted. No one misbehaved. It was all wonderful kids doing wonderful things all together. Whereas I go to children's things now, and you just see one child having a tantrum, and then another one has a tantrum, and another one has a tantrum. Too much sugar, too much this, too much that.
Right.
And you go, what has happened to that?
Right.
Even the children playing can't do it harmoniously. So there's a conditioning to us from a very early age that separates us and breaks that trust down.
Well, and Isabel, if she were here, I'm sure she would bring this up, because we talked about this. You know, she works with children a couple of days a week. And she says that it's really been hurting to her, you know, emotionally, that she'll encourage them to use their imagination, and they haven't got they don't know how. They don't know how, because their imagination has been stolen because of the fact that they're put in front of screens, you know, it's such like little, you know, their screens are just invading their life, to where now they don't go out and play with a stick, right? I mean, that sounds so ridiculous. But how do we become really good manifestors if we've never even learned how to turn that stick that we're playing with into like this incredible spaceship controller that we're now flying into the next universe, to now wander through the backyard, and now we're on this foreign terrain of this other planet somewhere, you know, and the aliens are about to jump out and say hi, and woo, we don't know if they're friendly, right? Like they don't I mean, I just went there. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing I thought of. I just went there. And we're talking now about children that I think are probably about 8, that have like, that's foreign to them, because like they gotta go play their video game. Like they're gonna go live in that metaverse where it's all handed to them. But the thing that's amazing about that is, again, how do we manifest if we cannot use our imagination?
It's such an important subject, and something that's coming to me right now. Actually, we're just discussing this with my imagination when I was a child, which was enormous. But a lot of what I was creating was with, I don't know if you remember the little action men. There's little soldiers I used to buy with the Confederates and the Union Army all battling on a field. It was always to do with conflict.
Sure.
There was always a conflict there. And to me, that was embedded into me, because there was a conflict. I remember one of the first aspects I got with the experts, the new experts of the earth, this guy in a white coat talking about the JFK assassination. And I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. And he was talking about the magic bullet spinning around and taking the side of his head off. And I'm going, and I'm looking at that as a 7 or 8-year-old, goes, that doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm looking around at everybody watching the TV, because like the family were watching TV. And I thought, I'm not watching this rubbish. And I went off and started to play with my toys again. And it was that conflict. I could see conflict in everything when the TV came on. And maybe I came from a conflict place as well as a reincarnation. But I'm thinking about my childhood. A lot of it was conflict with the action men fighting against each other, or something chasing them, or building a fort to protect them from like invaders coming in and things like that. It was really interesting, actually, just to think about that and think that's what I used to manifest. And then through my music career, I don't know, it seemed to be a lot of conflict in that as well, which was interesting as well, because you're always fighting against the record labels or the management company, or even members in the band saying, well, we should be doing the music should be coming first. It should be the creativity of the artists, not what we want, not what we how it sells, but it should be the integrity of the artist should be kept intact. And I've got many stories from the music business from that, but staying with the manifestation, if I'd have had that attitude towards manifestation and then resonated with other people who were looking for that kind of, this is the art, let's focus on the art, I feel that it would have been a lot more harmonious place for me being in the music business, but it wasn't. It was quite, it felt sometimes very hostile. And a lot of that is the top down control again as well. So, but
well,
yeah,
it gets to that place of what we're talking about when you were a kid, like, okay, you play, it was conflict, it's that has existed for generations upon generations upon generations, right? That's been part of our evolution, is the conflict. And it was a model that I think was necessary to our evolution at some point. There was a point to it, but now it's just repeat. That's all. It's like rewind, repeat, rewind, repeat. It's no longer, at this moment in time, I can't say conflict is no longer serving us, because at this moment in time, the type of conflict that's going on, the extent of stuff that's coming at us appears to be waking people up. So I'm okay with that, if that's really what's going on, which I choose to truly manifest in my reality, is like, this is waking people up. What is on the other side of that, though, is this is like, okay, are we going to continue to live inside that limitation? Like, where is the stuff that says, all right, build a universe? We don't have to destroy it. Why don't we build it? What could we bring to the table to build a universe? What is peace, right? What is peace? What is that? Everybody says they want peace. Oh, we won't want peace. Well, not everybody, but most people want peace.
Yeah.
But nobody has a clue what peace actually is, because it's never really existed. There's been moments of it. We can get there, like meditation or whatever, when you really truly get to a place where you silence your mind, which is an illusion anyway, because your mind is always going, but you learn how to let it go on its own, so it's not really silent. It's just going on its own. But it's like, okay, how do we even think that these things are possible if we can't have a conversation about it? And that's one of the things that I think is missing. Like, when have you sat at a dinner table? I've done it a couple of times, but it's because I set it up that way. It's not because it happened naturally, to where the conversation is like, okay, well, how would you like to create this world to be? What do you see happening that if it would be optimum? Or how would peace look in your life? How would that manifest, right? Like, these are the conversations that are missing. And I think those are massive limitations on our ability to manifest, even build a community. Like, what does a community look like? And how can we be a massive global community that allows for each individualized pocket that says, hey, we're artists, so therefore we're naturally inclined to hang out together, but we still want to connect with other people, but still, these are certain values that we have, and here we'll go religion for a second. We're Muslims or we're Catholics, we're going to kind of naturally hang out with each other, but we still want to connect with other people, but we still kind of want to do this. It's like, okay, well, if you want to do that, please do that. Right. But if we don't want to do that, that's okay too. Can we peacefully just coexist and honor each other? Right. Like, how do we end up there if we do not start talking about these conversations? Because the industrial military complex, which appears to be the number one financial driver of the United States of America, right? And I would not say that that is necessarily a foreign thought to a lot of the first world, right? Is that war is the moneymaker, right? Unfortunately, right? So that conversation is happening continually.
Yeah. Well, I hope people are realizing that, is that also you've got the bankers, they fund both sides, so they're always going to win.
Of course. Yes.
So that's another issue that we have. But these discussions about what do you actually want? How do you feel that peace would manifest in your world? And all these other questions that you brought up, these interesting points, people cannot answer them very clearly because they haven't never actually sat and contemplated, what do I want? How do I want to manifest this peace into my world? And I feel there's lots of credence in this cataclysm happening about 12,000 years ago. And it's really embedded into our DNA of fear. And it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And these cycles that you were talking about, I think these cycles are not particularly controlled perfectly, but they're ebbed on to keep going. And ebbed on. There's another cycle. Oh, there it goes. And sometimes it goes in the right direction, like the founding fathers breaking away from the central bank of England, and then it comes back because the central bank starts to pull it back in, and because it's seeing the cycle, then it brings it back into that cycle again. So we've got that distrust within our DNA of something bad is going to happen, which is why I think a lot of people can fall into the paranoia when they get tired. They get a bit paranoid and a bit sort of gruff with each other. And that's inside of us. So how do we speak about what's happened to us and what journey we've been through as a civilization for the last 12,000 years to make this better? And I think it's coming and talking about all of these things. How do you create peace? How would I create peace? Well, it would be different to somebody else's peace. So I want to talk about what that difference is and find those grey areas in the middle, like Thomas Jefferson said, and say, okay, that's great. This is brilliant. So we got a commonality where you want your children on your side of the fence to grow up, and I want my children on my side of the fence to grow up in a peaceful, fair, egalitarian kind of world where it's all not equality is a funny word, but where everybody has an opportunity to thrive. Huh?
Equanimity,
yeah. And it's very difficult to manifest that when someone says no. We have this and you don't have this. And therefore you're thinking, well, I like that Ubuntu, Michael Tellinger, of saying, well, if you got abundance with that, we got abundance with this, let's share. And then everybody's got abundance.
Right.
But what we're doing now, we're driving into, which is, again, another insane way this world works, is that they create something that has lack to it, like a material substance that has lack to it, rather than in the ether, like in my hand here, there's enough energy here to power London. There's enough. All they need to do is tap into that energy. But no, what do they do? They firstly they coal and petrol, and now, do you know this? That part of our green agenda in the UK. Did you know this? Part of our green agenda is nuclear power. Did you know that?
No, did not know that.
You got like a
but again,
it's nuclear power is part of our green agenda. And I scratched my head going, how did they wangle that?
Well, because somebody's going to make a lot of money off of, and here's the thing, again, it's not money's fault. It's greed, and it's the power grab, and it's coming out of this structure that has existed for so long. Empires rise, empires fall, empires rise, empires fall. Well, if we want to learn anything from our history, let's recognize they fall, right? Let's just recognize that and say, okay, do we need to do this again? Do we need to fall and try to pick up the pieces and or can we actually do this differently now that we're on this precipice and all these things are happening and we've got the power grabs going on and we've got all this stuff going on. And, the big thing of scare people enough, they'll give away their freedom, right? In the name of safety, right? That's a huge thing that's happening in the world right now. It's like and so trust is massive. If we don't trust ourselves, then we cannot manifest. If we don't trust each other, then we cannot manifest, right? We can do little bits and pieces, but we can't fully create what it is that we deserve. If we don't believe we're worthy of it, we cannot manifest. And if we are believing that there's some other power outside of us, which is really what the political arena, the corporate arena, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, yes, I named names, even though we don't really know who's in the house. We have ideas, but they don't really say, they all want us to believe that we have to bow down to somehow their ability to take care of everything. And if we do that, we are giving up our ability to manifest. We're giving our power and our authority away. And so while money may have been part of our evolutionary process, meaning, okay, we're going to cultivate this whole system of, I'm going to buy this from you because you're going to sell it to me and I'm going to live because of that. And you're going to live because of that. but I think we get to the place where there's also the limitation there at some point. If all it is about what's where the money is going, if that's all it is, then humanity is basically lost because we are not that, nor were
No.
we ever meant to be that. So just like barter transitioned into something, now we're into and the new Earth itself, the new Earth co-creators. The thing that we have is we have a whole economic structure that's here. It's completely alive, right? And it's dealing with what we call the gifting community. So it's a whole other structure. It's been around for forever, but yet it's never really, because we deal with trust issues and the people go, I don't know if that could work, because to me it's the bridge to the equal value system, which we are nowhere remotely close to at this moment in time, which says you have value, I have value, therefore we coexist. This planet has value, life on this planet has value, therefore we cultivate these things together, and we share what it is. And no, I'm not talking about any political structure that's on this planet right now, because this one does not exist at this time, other than maybe in the middle of the jungle somewhere with aboriginals that live well off the grid. Maybe there's some semblance of this, but the reality is that why, when something has proven to work, and the Ubuntu, I'm not saying it right, Ubuntu reminded me of it, is the whole concept of like, we give to one another, we support one another, we build each other up. Well, that's how it works. That's manifestation. That's us being able to say, I choose this, you choose that. We can support each other in doing this. We must build bridges into a new tomorrow. And it is, scary in its own right. Absolutely. Because it's unknown. Not because somebody else wants to control us, but because it's unknown. So what fear, I guess, would we rather feel? The fear of the unknown, or the thought that something awful is happening, and therefore, we're allowing other people to control us, but we don't want to be controlled, but we don't know what to do. Like, I would much rather have fear of the unknown. So
Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm finding this whole matrix type structure is built on fear, and the people I speak to as clients, have been fascinating insight with some of them who are sort of in quite high up places, I will say very gently, to see that everything that is being controlled from fear. And as soon as something opens up that is not to be feared of, and not actually interacting with the power structure, but actually creating something that's going to be making things bigger and better, actually it's starting to be released. And I'm going, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. When that fear starts to dissipate, and you start to create something that is really, really actually combined effort. Because people, I found, especially in corporations, they will exclude somebody because they know that they're sensitive, they know they're wise, they know they can see a bigger scope than they can. So they will push them out of the way until it comes to actually the meeting or the conference or whatever. And then they'll ask them in at the last minute and say, well, okay, this is what we've got. What do you think? And they're going, well, I haven't had time to think about that, manifest it. I can't just go bang like a magician and just create it. So this is all based on fear. So there's people fearful of not being recognized, so therefore they try to take control of everything. There's also, like you say, greed, but it's all coming from a place of fear. It's not coming from a place of love. If you come from a place of love, you learn to let go, and when you let go, what comes back is actually quite amazing. But if you keep holding on to these things, which I think we're all guilty of, then things don't tend to come back to you. So it is important to realize that we are really all coming from a place of fear, and we just need to adjust that to come from a place of love and go, okay, this has got these limitations to it. Let's work out what these limitations are. Why can't we do this? Why aren't we doing this together? Why can't we actually work this out and just say, let this fly, let it go, see what happens? Because you go, oh, well, no, this is my little bit here, and I don't want to, there's all of this kind of toing and throwing that causes the friction to not let it go. Yeah.
go. I'm smiling because I'm agreeing with you, and I'm also smiling. I don't know if you can hear this, but Chooks is behind me, my big doggy, and he's snoring at the top of his. He's just like snoring away, and I'm listening to you talking. I'm hearing in the background.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when I do my public speaking.
Yeah.
Oh, is he finished yet?
But you see, the thing with Chooks, right, is that he doesn't have to pay attention. He's an expert manifester. He's an
Yeah.
amazing manifester. So he has zero limitations as far as that's concerned. And he is not caught up in his life circumstances because he's had quite a life. And, but inside of whatever circumstance he's been in, he has manifested his ability to get what it is that he needs. Right. And that's such a beautiful thing we do. We can learn so much from our animals, but we're getting down to the last minute and a half here. So I want to make sure if people want to check out what we're talking about, there's the New Earth Co-Creators.org, newearthcocreators.org, and the Conscious Muse Collective.com, consciousmusecollective.com. We're also both, everything's on Facebook and all those things too. So if you go to the websites, you can get onto Facebook. And then with the Conscious Music Collective, the Facebook group is Conscious Music for the People, because that's our sort of flagship reality, the Conscious Music Festival, right, for the people. Yeah. And on Tuesdays, well, whenever this comes out, but on Tuesdays from this point forward at noon Central, I believe 6 p.m. UK, right?
Yeah, 6 p.m. UK, yeah.
We are doing what are we doing? We have to be quick.
Meditation, meditation, sound toning, sound healing, doing affirmations. We're just coming together to put a good vibe into the world. That's what we're doing. It's really simple as that. And we do little things to do for 10, 20 minutes, something like that. So it's fun. It's fun. Keep it fun, keep it light. And it's going to be inspirational rather than us planning it. So it's going to happen.
Yes. It's in the moment. It's group manifestation. It is bringing these conversations into the healing of peace and all those things that we were talking about. It is kind of stepping forward into that. So as always, Peter, it is such a pleasure to see you each and every week. So looking forward to next time.
Yes, always a pleasure to see you too.
And of course, the lovely Isabel will be with us as well. So
hey.
Next time, everybody, much love, much peace.
Big love, yes.
And remember,
virtual hugs out there.
Together we rise. Together we rise.
Yes.